Hello, my dear friends on the internet, and welcome to another coding stream where I will continue working on that text editor. And we'll hope that within a few streams we'll be able to use it. Let's go with that goal. Right. Yeah. Hmm. So let's open this guy. And we can get started with stuff. Right. And this is good enough. And if we build it, right. This is the current position that we're at. So maybe it would be nice to just be able to scroll. All right. So let's start with that. Let's get at us at least scrolling a bit. We can remove this scissors. Right. So scroll will be another event, right? Basically. So we can have some scroll offsets that we can change. All right. So let's get going with that. We have, so let's say if message, do we have something scroll? Mm, mouse up, down, left, right, etc. We don't have any fixed for scroll. Yeah, we have mouse wheel, right? Then we can maybe just print what the value we are getting. For example, I don't think we have something like wheel delta, right? Rather, we can just print this, right? Um, printf and followed by something like percentage d, and yeah, we use comma, right? And with that, we build. We have this, right? And then if we scroll, right, we get these numbers, positive and negative numbers that we can use, right? So we can have something like a delta scroll, and we can use that. Yeah. So first of all, I don't want to see that print everywhere. So most likely I will remove that first, this thing. Or we can comment it out. Maybe it can come into handy later. For now, we don't need this. And yeah, so we can have something like, all right, and here we can have a condition, that says basically if mouse wheel, right? So then we can save this thing actually. So let's say that mouse wheel, right? Uh, And if we have this delta, right, then we'll probably want to modify that delta. Otherwise, that delta will be zero. So simple thing we can do is we can just say wheel delta. Why not? Right. So we'll always have this value stored at wheel delta. How many? Uh, how much you have scrolled basically. And in this while loop, we can keep on printing that wheel delta also. Right. So with that we build, right, our wheel delta is zero. But as soon as I scroll down, the whole delta is minus 120, and the as soon as I scroll up, the whole delta is plus 120. Right. So we have some positive value for wheel delta, and that we can use. Right. So it will be more sense. It will make more sense to feed this wheel delta to our editor. Right. So maybe you can have something like editor dot update, and here we can pass maybe wheel delta for now at least. So our editor needs to have a method called update. Let's do that. Yeah. So we have init for our editor here, which basically does nothing. But we can have something like void update, right? Which basically takes mouse delta for now. And what we basically do is when you scroll, right? We essentially want to scroll over the page like this, right? So yeah, that you can focus on. So basically, we will be incrementing cursor y, right? So here you can do that if we don't have any like active edit, right? That is not good. Otherwise, we will you can do that. So first things first, let's put this thing, this condition. We can make, we might maybe change this into something else, but for now we just return if there is no edits to trigger, right? But otherwise, we will have our active panel, right? We can take our active panel and slap it here. We know that okay, this edit block is currently we're editing, right? And then we can check, right, that if uh, there is some absolute value of mouse delta, then we can maybe increase the y by a bit, right, for positive and negative values, essentially. So we can just say that okay, so if mouse delta, uh, so you can just say that let's say edit dot cursor y plus equals to mouse delta, this thing. It should be greater than zero. Also, I'm not sure if this is int, so absolute should work, right? If this is greater than zero, then basically we are scrolling towards up or down. So based on that, we can for now we can just do this, right? And so we have this mouse delta thing, right? So based on that, we can edit this cursor position. And based on that, the UI we are returning right here for the editor panel, that should reflect it, right? So we are currently storing the cursor, like resetting the cursor Y. That is fine. We are creating this panel, right? But we want to provide this panel the information that okay, you are this far away inside, right? So let's have that inside panel. Maybe I'll decrease the font a bit because I can't see that. Yes, for so big. So yeah, we can go for mouse. We can go for our UI, right? Where all our UI is declared, right? We have this text panel here, and we have this X offset and Y offset, right? Which we have not used yet. So you can set that. Right? So maybe panel dot X offset, right? This thing is equals to basically edit dot cursor X, right? And this might be like edit dot cursor Y, right? Because we can set the delta here itself, right? When we're pushing things. So first things first, is this sprites that we're drawing, right? So we can introduce that offset here, right? In this edit area. So maybe we can do something like this. So right, which is equals to offset like we have y offset, right? And then you can multiply it with text scale and font, right? This text scale, where does this come from? Here, right? We use it nowhere, I guess. Let's just delete this and see. So only this time we don't care about it basically. And so um and this way we are ensure that at least we are scrolling by the font size, right? And with that, maybe we can put it sorry, we can put it here, for example, right? And with this y offset value, we can basically shift it upwards, right? The sprites that we are drawing, we can shift them upwards. So I think this is x and this is y value, right? Maybe we can put them in separate lines. Yeah. So now that this y offset is here already, we can make it minus, I think. And if we just do that and we try to build and it builds, we get nothing to see. But when we scroll sometimes, right, we get to see some part of it, right? So some kind of crawling behavior we can observe, right? So what happens if we go outside, for example, right? So this thing needs to be in a bound, kind of in a bound, right? So let's set that bound first, because this is like the size of font that we are scrolling, right? So here the easiest way to pull that off will be to clamp this y offset in some way, right? In between some values. So for example, the y offset cannot like initially the y offset is 0, right? Because that's how we set it. So value, right? So this editor might also have something like size t and line. For now, we'll change that to get an estimate of how many lines we have. And based on that, when we're essentially loading this, right, we can look through the file content, and we can load the number of lines here. So yeah, that might work. Or you can just simply for loop and do that. But if that's going to work, then we'll always make sure that this cursor y is between 0 and that value. So if let's say edit dot cursor y is less than 0, right, then it should become 0. And the same goes for greater than. So if it's greater than number of line, then it should be the last line basically. And I don't know if that will be enough, but you can test it. Maybe the directions might be wrong. How to get this thing right? So we can try to scroll, but as much as we try, we can't go up, right? Or we can't go down either. So that is a problem that you have to look at, right? 1 minute. Huh? Yeah. So that what we can do is when we are starting, right, this should be 0 ideally. This y also should be 0. And then as we scroll down, 1 second just. So we want to maybe scroll down a bit more, something like a line height kind of thing. So maybe it will be like font size plus some padding. For now, let's hard code it. But we can revisit this always, and we can make this work without any difficulty. We have this here, right? And also, let's not draw this here because of the simple fact that we have multiple tabs, right? And we will select one of those tabs. So that is one thing. So our cropping should just end here, ideally. So we can have that information of that debug information now written itself, right? Also, but apart from that, so yeah, first let's remove this part. More like commenting this part because we're not using it right now. We just want to leave that area for the tabs, right? And we can later revisit it, and that should be totally fine, right? So you don't have that tab top, so we can go into the, let's say, our renderer where we are actually submitting that data, and here, like, if we want to remove that tab height as well, we don't want to see that. Okay, so this height, we need to subtract something like for now, right, something like you can see py here, right? So it will be like the same amount of as py for now, but we can check that later. But with that, we should have that top bar removed, and also the text crop at the top area, right? But our cropping is still a bit snappy, so we need to look into that, right? So that's one point. So ideally, let's print this value as well, like when we are changing this crop. So what we can do is, let's say, basically where we're getting this thing right, you can also print it, and maybe you can add a statement here so that these two ifs are connected, and then we can maybe print, right, the cursor y. Cursor y is of size t, right? So maybe we need z, I think. Yeah. So for size t, the printf flag is zu, right? And we are getting things built correct. But this UI itself has a bit kind of snappy thing going on. So we just quit, right? And you can run this so that we can actually see, right? So as soon as this code is loaded, right, this value is coming as 1061 and this, right? But ideally, and when we reduce this, this reduces, but nothing happens, right? So we are stuck. So when we go down, what is happening, right? It's not updating properly. We go up also, you can see that we are reaching 106. So that part is correct, and we're never going back. But here this is not correct, right? So you need to fix that. You need to take that into account or something like that. Um. So yeah, you can go to editor and we can check it out. Like go here. We can review this logic, right? We are saying that if it's less than zero, then turn it into zero, right? But when you are loading essentially, it should also be zero, right? Not some crazy value that it started with, right? So the first thing that I would like to do here is when we are initializing, I'll just manually ask it to be zero. I don't know if it will help or not, but it should be zero by default, right? Then when we see a scroll, right, some value in the scroll, um, then we basically increment or decrement, right? So let's just reverse this for now, and let's build it, right? And now if we try to scroll, right, so this number doesn't look correct. Let's open another parcel that you can use for testing, right? And you can say value. So at the very start, this value is 106, right? Which is the maximum value it can get, right? After 106, it can't get anymore, but you can reduce, right? So why is it starting at 106? That is one question. And when it's jumping, right, from 0 to 106, how is it going there? That is one thing. So clamping is not working correctly. That is for sure. And we need to fix it. So, first of all, right, when we are starting, why we are not at, yeah. So this is right. So if it's less than zero, then to make it zero. If it's greater than zero, greater than the highest number, then it will set it to highest number. But as soon as we start the editor, right here, as soon as we start the editor, we're greeted with the highest number, whereas we should be greeted with zero offset, right? So that part is a bit strange, and that part we need to figure out, like why is this happening right here? Because we're printing at the update, right? Mm, So yeah, let's see that. So when we are like loading an text file, right? When we are getting this, we are basically getting this here, right? We are loading it here, right? And here we can just say that this new edit, right? When initialized, basically here it's initialized, right? And when it's initialized, it should have the value zero here, right? And that we are saying here also. So do you guys have any like only one person is here, sadly. But do you have any idea like why this is happening? Every time we start a string, we get a new bug at the very beginning, and most of the time goes into debugging that. So maybe this is the bug that we are going to work on today, right? So who is modifying cursor while? How about we just highlight cursor while, so it's easier for us to see. So you can say why, right? So we have all the places where cursor y is, right? So here cursor y is just used as for getting, and here in the update, basically the cursor y is changing, right? So maybe we can have this a bit higher, right? For example, say 10, but it doesn't really matter, right? Because we are getting like 120 raw, right? And so what we are doing essentially is we are subtracting mouse wheel. But why is this value coming as 10? Like maybe this is wheel delta, right? So maybe this wheel delta we only use and also when it's not initialized, we are basically returning, right? So we can have, let's say, wheel delta printed once again, right? I sometimes wonder, does Copilot hear me speaking, right? So wheel delta is zero, as you can see. Let's do it here, actually. So wheel delta is zero, right? So when we scroll down, wheel delta becomes this, and we directly hit 107. So at least this 107, it should be the last line, right? So we can just fix that as well, because if we can get like something like the line height, right? What how much height it's taking to like draw one line, and based on that we can modify our output. So the quickest thing that I can think of right now is we have this thing, right? It's editor UI, right? And in the UI, basically we're commenting a bunch of stuff. But here we have Y offset, which is basically we're taking Y offset, and Y offset is a value between this so when we push this sprites, right, we get the delta height, right? How much height is being used. So one thing we can do that, but the thing is that we don't want to do that calculation here because in future we'll be like only pushing the like uh, the chunk, right, not the entire text. So in that case, we will be failing spectacularly. So this font size we are saying 18, right? But I doubt that we're crawling by that. But let's just implement this thing and just observe what happens, right? Maybe we have something with this value. So one of the part is that we need to create some kind of intuition is to for understanding like what is actually going on. Let's do it here so that we can see it consistently. So we reach to 107, right? But 107 is just here, right? So we are just like when we are 107, what is the offset that we're using? So rather than printing this delta, right? We can try to print that offset itself that you're making, right? So yeah, not that, but we delete this. And then here in the UI, right? This offset we can try to print, right? Something like this. And now if we compile this, right? The wheel is still coming. Are we failing to compile? That is my guess. So yeah, we scroll up, right? And if all the mouse wheels are not used, somewhere here, the wheels keep on coming as minus 120, minus 120, minus 120, right? So the wheel started at 0, but the thing is that suddenly some 120s came, right? When they meshed the flow. So if we just clear this out, right? And if we just build it, and then immediately close it, right? So we should be able to see, right? So the thing I think is not compiled, right? CL is not recognized as an internal command, right? Obviously, you will not recognize CL as an internal command. That's my bad. So with this, now CL should be recognized as an internal command. Right. If we build now, we get this Y offset, right? Which is like 28 here. And that makes sense because we're adding 10, right? And then this Y offset becomes this huge value, right? So it's becoming a very huge value, but it's not reflecting here, right? Ideally, this Y offset should be applied. So that's the next thing that we want to fix, right? This Y offset we are calculating, right? And in the sprite renderer, Y offset is supposed to be from where the um, text is going to be rendered, right? So maybe this should be plus because there we made it minus, right? So yeah, we start with Y offset 20, and then when we reach here, okay, this is funny. Yeah, so we have no idea, right? Do you guys have any suggestion as to why this is happening? Right. So y offset is at the beginning 28, right? This value. Then as soon as we scroll, right, we get a lot of scroll events. Or it's because it's rendering continuously that we get. So when we scroll up, right, this value should go down. But then this value suddenly it's not acting as we expected, right? So that's a bit bummer. But yeah, you can try to find it out. Like, why is it happening? So this y offset is actually coming from main, right? Where we have this set to 0 wheel delta essentially. And whenever we have a mouse wheel, we are setting it. When we don't have a mouse wheel event, we're not setting it. So maybe like there might be some other things that might cause the mouse wheel to happen as well, right? Maybe due to that. So just to be sure, we can do something like this. I don't know. We build it, right? So now the y offset is 0, which is good. And as we scroll, the y offset increases, right? Here, this is extremely slow. Here we can check, right? So when you start, you have 0 y offset, which is good. We got rid of that. Then when we scroll down, we suddenly reached this number, right? So which is great. So maybe we need to get some kind of accumulation. This is going to be. Mm, And the strangest thing that I don't understand, right, is this thing, right? I'll show you. So we see that we are increasing, right? At least right now we're increasing, right? And we reach this line number like this 109 line. Then, but when we are decreasing, right? We still we're like 4 or 5, right? But if we keep on decreasing more, right? If we get to the very bottom of it, right? You can see some strange things going on, right? So after 0, it directly jumped to 109, and this is one of the major issues that is causing this problem, right? So we need to find out like why is it jumping to 109, and that regulation logic is this basically, right? That regulation logic is this, right? So basically, we first ensure that we have some value in mouse delta, right? Um, or we can do it like the old-fashioned way, right? So if mouse delta is not equals to 0, right? Or maybe just if mouse delta we get at all so mouse delta, then we essentially check if the mouse delta is greater than 0. If so, we increment the line, else we decrement the line. So one of the another thing that is happening is that right now we have a system that is being updated with hundreds of thousands frames per second, right? So maybe we this is a good time that we limit the FPS, something reasonable, and that is actually very easy. We just need to sleep, right? So std this thread dot sleep for this will work for me, and let's say we want to live for like 16 milliseconds, right? So with that, what kind of FPS are we receiving, right? So now that we have a stable FPS, right, 44. So we know that anytime we're not crossing this value 44, right? Now if I scroll, This is slow, extremely slow, but you can check the progress, right? As to what is happening. Do you ever use AI if you get stuck? Yeah, I use AI, but like it depends. Like this is somewhat me exploring stuff and also like getting used to talking with you. Right. If I just copy this code and give it to ChatGPT, it will give me the answer. And then like right now I'm trying to improve myself, right? I'm trying to discover like how this works, right? So if I use AI right now, right, that will beat the purpose. That will give me the answers, right? And I want to find those answers by myself, not using AI. Now it might sound extremely stupid to you, right? But that's how it is. So one thing that I think is that Windows gives a crazy shit of events, right? And basically our events and our rendering, they are not synchronized by any means, right? So there is a synchronization gap as well. So that gap is also one of the contributors, but we can make that synchronization happen, right? By saying that okay, can scroll or something like that, right? For example, we can just have something like this, can update scroll. We can set it to true, right? And whenever we get basically a mouse wheel, we can set like can update scroll to false, right? That means we are not able to update the scroll. And when we're checking, we can also check for that is this value is true. And then what we can do is here, right? After this loop is done once, we can set can update scroll to true, right? We can do something like this. So that should at least add some kind of limiting, right, in the scroll. So we start with zero scroll. As we scroll down, you can see I'm not scrolling bit, but it's reached to 144, right? And now as I scroll up, I'm not scrolling right now. I just scrolled only once. My problem is this thing. It's going to zero, and then it's you can see like it's going to zero, and then it suddenly goes to this value. This is where my problem is. This should not happen, and I don't understand why this is happening. Yeah. So that thing I want to fix. The synchronization and the other parts we can add delays and stuff like that, and we can maintain, right? But it when it's greater than this, right, it should never be zero. So why is it going to zero? That is the question. This bound check should be good enough, right? When we go less than zero, we go to zero. But when we go greater than zero, what is it that is happening that is getting us 1 second to it after we reach less than zero, right? Maybe these two should be like separate checks. 1 second. Disturbances everywhere, right? So maybe we can deal with like mm, arrows first, then I can see. But my question is why though? So let's say we are at zero, right? And then we got mouse delta, and we went to -1. This will make it to zero. This value is coming as zero sometimes, or what? Or the opposite. But that should not happen, right? Because n line is being calculated here only at 1 plus. And this is about time we should think about the architecture as well. So I will think about it, and also any suggestion that you give, we can also take. But yeah, let's try to understand this part. So this value is always greater than zero. That I'm assuming, right? Because this should not be come to zero, right? But if we just don't mm, let it like, not this part, but we don't let it to go zero by any means, then what happens? So we are just trying to understand the behavior here at this point, so that then we can think of optimization and everything. Right? So as we scroll, right? So first of all, that minus should be plus. So we reach to this number. And we're not going anywhere above that. So most likely it's failing to compile. Like no, it compiled actually, right? But still it chose to go to 114, and then it stopped. Right. Okay. So we check for minus actually. Right. So yeah, still when we reach the negative, right, it gets back. So that zero condition here is not actually working, right? Somehow when it gets to zero, it gets set back to that value. But the question is why? Mm. Wow, beautiful. Yeah, yeah. That. So one of the reasons that I'm doing it like this, right? Was like if I had small text and maybe I were using Visual Studio, then life would have been a bit easier for me as well. Yeah. Um, in the update, right? How about we move this check outside, right? Because this is going to update it, right? Not only this part, but as well as this part. Right. So it should update it, and this bound check should always happen, right? No matter what. If you're less than zero, then you become zero. But the problem is when it's less than zero, right? 1 second. I think what is cursor Y? Cursor Y is a size t. It can never go below zero. So what it's essentially doing is it's wrapping itself around. So this should be actually be in, right? In order to have any impact. I think that is the main crux of the issue. So this can be D, right? And if we just do that, let's see if we get that out of bound problem fix. And as well as this should be, um, you were right. This should be like this should be minus option, right? Which is obviously wrong right now. Uh, but yeah, that's fine. We can check that out later. We can run this. We have this, and then I scroll, right? So keep on scrolling. We reach the value, and now we no longer cross that value, right? And if we scroll up, right, in that case also we reach zero. But now after zero, we are looping back, right? So after zero, we are once again looping back, which is wrong. So the bottom is fixed, right? So if we scroll and we go up, right, we are never going to face this issue, right? So maybe somewhere else we have the same thing going on. Let's just check that for once. So in the UI itself, right? Can we have negative values? And then the one thing that discrepancy, right? That thing we can get fixed easily. But so the thing is that this editor update, right? This should only happen when can update scroll is true, right? At least for now, we will do it later, or maybe we can have different events that we can trigger. Like for example, this update will become update scroll and say that we can do. What is happening? Right. Yeah. So we can set this out. We can put this here. I can remove this DD. That should make this a bit easier, right, for us. So we are at zero. Then we start scrolling, and this is strange, right? We hit the top, and then we cycle back. But when we hit the top, we are supposed to stop there, and we are not supposed to like go even further. So then check what is happening, right? So like from zero, this jump, right? This should not happen. Get it? From zero, this jump. and that is one of the main crux of the problem. So here it's an integer, right? And then we basically set this integer here, right? Otherwise, it should always be zero, right? If we just do that and we scroll down, is working fine, right? And also right now it's actually cropping to my wishes. The problem is when it's scrolling up, right? And now it has reduced the speed a bit, but can we still go up? That is the question. Yeah. So as soon as we cross zero, right, we wrap back. That is the part that is confusing me, right? It's kind of a bouncy effect um that we might probably want to have, but also it's like why are we scrolling back? Any idea? Why it's actually only one person is now live with me. But yeah, so we can try to find it out, right? So one thing we can do is we can track the previous value, right? And if the previous value is zero, right? So maybe we want to allow this modification to happen only if we are not setting, right? We have commented this out. So as soon as it goes below zero, it does something else, right? We didn't save it. My bad. So yeah, we had that part of code commented. But now, for instance, if we go to zero, yeah, now that's fixed, right? So we can't cross zero even if we scroll, right? Now only the delta value, right? The delta value is like it should be more, like where this part is not right, right? So yeah, we can get that thing sorted out now. So yeah, this part is now working. Maybe we can format this, right? And we can go to the UI, right? And what we can do, let me think. Do is there some concept changes here? Yeah, we basically did this, but this scroll offset, right? From that point, it should start drawing, right? Or we should remove that many lines. That is one way of doing it, but that way we'll lose the smooth scroll that I don't want to lose. So let's just increase this and see. So we are doing this step by step. Font size is 18, so this will be something like 48, right? So the upper bound will increase basically for the amount we can scroll, right? For one delta movement, right? So now if we scroll, can we reach to much far more? So right now we are getting to this event received, right? This is the highest limit that we are reaching. And now if we just increase this, something like 100, We're trying to understand, and then we can put the solution out. So now if we scroll, right, we can scroll very slowly, but still we are scrolling, right? But we still reach to the same place, right? So that is not right because we are using yes, because we are using y offset instead of y off that we create. With that, basically, now we should get some scrolling going on, right? Like this. We're able to scroll down. Right now we are going out of bounds, but that's fine. Then we can scroll up, right? And when we hit zero, basically, we will stop scrolling, right? So now I think it's safe that we take this can scroll thing out, right? Because why not? Mm. So we are not dependent on can scroll to get the update, right? Because we are hoping that this update is good. If it's not, then we'll restore back. But for now, let's assume, right? And if we just save this, right? And also in the UI, right now we are scrolling with font size, right? But maybe we just want font size +4 because there is some gap between the lines, right? Maybe +2 is a good value. I don't know. We'll check that. But for now, right? Mm, we can get done with something like this, right? Mm, so if we run this, right, do we get any kind of change with that change enforced? So first things, the scrolling is a bit smooth now, but we are reaching to far larger place than we should be able to scroll. Um, so the max scroll that we are reaching is this, right? This huge amount. That should not be it. But the up scrolling, right? That is quite smooth. So maybe we're not like getting 18 pixels, right? If we just subtract some value, some small delta, for that like whatever the calculated pace is in pixels. It's like when we are saying 16, it's not necessarily that the fonts are 16, right? Because fonts they use their own kind of scaling, right? So it's nearer, but it's not absolutely like pixel level kind of thing. So now if we scroll right, we can reach up to this point. And if we just use the font size, right? No bias, nothing. This thing. And we stop printing this Y offset also. Right. So what do we get? We leave the bounds, right? So it's obviously less than that, but maybe like font size times let's say zero point 0.9, something like that. And we can make this twin, right? So now basically scaling by some factor. And with that, we should be able to scroll till some point, right? But still scrolling still here, right? So it should be a little bit more less, right? Like 8.5 or something like that. But yeah, the top is correct. And now, because our like the scrollability is going at a higher refresh rate, right? Maybe it's about time we can just remove this thing as well, this rate limit kind of thing, so that we get a bit more smooth. Yeah, and now we are much more smooth, if you can see, right? We are able to do it with the scroll. But ideally, the scroll should last till this point, right? Something like 8.5 maybe. I don't know. So we can have like 8.5 here instead of 9 in the UI. You can try. So you're starting, then we reach till here, which is a bit less. Uh, so maybe 9.5, right? Use 9.5 instead. Then what kind of a result do you get? This is very much near. So maybe like 9.55. I don't know. Just a small offset. So that the actual average line height matches. And we can deal with this right now. We can modify that later. Maybe our scroll speed is a bit more, and that's fine. Uh, so that speed we can adjust, right? That we'll do later actually. uh, we can just accumulate, and then for every accumulated step we can just add one, right? So that's fine. But the crux of the problem still lies in the fact that no, actually, like, this is good, right? Maybe it's about time we can show a bar, right? So we need some additional information about the text, but before that, I want to just check one thing, right? So in the main, let's add some garbage here. So something like this, which by no means will affect our code to compile, but we'll have some junk, right? So we right this thing, and maybe after that we have whatever we have in the here, right? Maybe we'll get that as well, and we'll just dump here in this area, right? So now we have a much more bigger area, and yeah, we want to remove this thing, right? So that it's up to this. So now we have a larger text file, right? So we can see that the assumption that we had, right, that 9.5, does it work quite good? It's not quite good, but it's usable. So at this point of time, I think we are like we are reaching here, but we should have reached to a bit more further, right? So I value should be a bit more, in my opinion. Maybe 9.6. That we will freeze the y values so that we exactly know. That is the better way of doing things, right? So let's basically do that, right? So instead of like we can open the create rect sprite, right? So we can go source slash render utils, and in render utils we basically get the this create text sprite, right? And here we are incrementing the y cursor like this, right? Where you have this hard coded value, right? This thing 1.25, right? If we just remove this 1.25 from here, right? And we say that we don't care, you just increase by the font size, right? So you just increase by the font size, you just do that. We just say that, and then we try to, let's say, run it, and we scroll to the absolute bottom, right? So we can go even further, which is not good. And also let's see the line space between each element, right? So yeah, we need to have some space. This is too crowded, right? So here we basically whatever distance we have, right? We are multiplying, let's say, times 1.2, right? Not here, but in the y scenario, right? Oh, the x scenario is fine. Okay, wait. Um, here, yeah, we have this. Where does 15 comes from? Okay, this is just for space only. So let's make this like 1.2, right? So ideally, whatever height is given, we have 1.2 more height than that. But yeah, let's just check that if without these two factors, right? So this one as well as this one, we get some correct bounding, right? Um, so yeah, I think this is good enough, right? For example, we are at 241, right? So yeah, I think this is good enough, right? What I want essentially to do is stop it from scrolling all the way down, right? So maybe something like going to all the way down, right? If it's greater than or equal to, let's say, we'll have at least two lines visible. That's the idea. So if it's greater than this, right, then it should become this. Okay. But now that if we have one line, that will be an issue. So this block should go after this, right? So that we don't get into zero, essentially. Right. It will never become negative, at least in that scenario. And with that, with no extra padding in between lines, right? That padding we might take as an argument rather than just multiplying. We will always ensure that we have some leeway. Is that assumption true? It's not completely true, to be honest. And once again, we fall into that weird tree where we like go down and then we go. So that thing we should not do. Rather, here we can say that okay, this thing, if it's greater than zero, right? If it's less than zero, then set it to zero. that will ensure, right? And now we should not get that like out of bound issue again, and we can reach to 140 one. So the point is, we should not be able to scroll after some amount, all right? So what if we just remove this extra part, right? Make it a bit smaller and check. So the window height itself has a effect as well, right? For example, here I am saying that I can scroll up to 124, but if I have a smaller screen, right? In that case, that will be an issue. But we can fix that later, right? We can have some extra space. That is at least for now fine by me. Yeah, and maybe we can get some space, right? Yeah, let's just draw the scroll bar first in order to understand like what is going on, right? So essentially, when we the naive kind of thing, right? When we don't have any buffer, blah 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 kind of thing. What we can do is we have this create sprite, right? Which basically gives us the like the area. But we need to know that what is the total scroll area of this rectangle, right? And based on that, we can do stuff. So yeah, this is no longer needed, but we need to know that bound, right? We need to pre-compute that bound, right? So one is this, another is maybe we can just compute it. So that is one way we can go, but I don't want to do it right now because I know that I will be modifying that filter and then everything will go in some other way that I don't want. And also, yeah, we don't need you. Thank you for the help with the thread library. And with that, right? Let's just draw that scroll bar right now. So for now, what we can do basically in UI is this function, right? This function itself is returning me this like how much x and y is being took. So vec2 size, right? And this gives oh not here actually this size, but yeah we have created sprite, right? Sprites dot push created, right? Okay, this is rectangle sprite. We don't care about rectangle sprite. We will care about text sprite. This text sprite is supposed to be a vec2, right? Um, this right, and we can print this actually. So let's say something like this, right? And if we print this, we will get that this is the text size that we're getting, right? So we have this scroll area, this 1785, right? So you can use that in order to like get an estimate of the rectangle that we are going to draw at the furthest right side, right? So yeah, and we should never allow, right, to draw more than that this area, this small area. because otherwise the text will go on top of it. Okay, so we can have something like float scroll width, which is, let's say, 8 pixels, or let's say for now it's 16 pixels, right? So you have a 16 pixels scroll bar width, and we don't want you to be able to draw, right? In this 16 pixel. So this X offset, it should actually be scroll bar width. Nice sketch. So with that, now we can draw a scroll bar, right? But the question is, what should be the scroll bar height, right? And what should be the scroll bar offset? So that is one question that we need to solve. So let me just, I have a notepad. I just quickly draw the scroll bar and I will try to understand. So essentially, we can say that our screen height, right? We have this like editor's actual height that we are using for like cropping stuff, right? Which is nothing but this height multiplied by the screen height, right? So we can have that value. Visual height, right, is nothing but height times scroll bar minus title bar height. That's a good height, right? And then we know that this is the area, right? So maybe we can. So if the visual height is same as this, right? So we can have some factor, right? So we can have like a float scroll bar factor, which is nothing but the visual height divided by our this thing. Right? So actually the opposite, right? So we know that how many chunks we are scrolling basically, right? And we can print that as well, right? So print scroll factor, scroll bar factor, right? And you can just run it and we'll get a static number that represents our scroll bar factor, which is 3.2 something, right? So in that case, our scroll bar will be one third of the height, right? Maybe. So we can do that. We can just say height is actually this scroll bar factor, right? We divide it. We use this scroll bar factor and we divide it with what? We divide it with blah blah blah. Yeah, maybe that's a good sound. Blah blah blah. But yeah, we divide it by the height, right? This visual height. So whatever the visual height is, give me what I get by dividing it, right? Now we can draw the scroll bar here. So maybe we can add something like I don't think that I will be getting there much, and there is not much viewers, so it doesn't make any sense to me as well. But I would at least get this thing finished. So yeah, something like that. And for the scroll bar, what you can do is you can accept whatever the ChatGPT is saying. And most likely it's saying wrong, so I'm not going to do that. Rather, we're just going to draw a rectangle, which is maybe green in color, just to check. Right now we have scroll bar. That is the assumption that we are going with. And x and y can for now be 0 and 0. If we change that later, it will be 10 by 10. Right. And then for width we have scroll bar with rotate. For height, you can have this scroll bar height. And maybe just we want to get a red scroll bar. And now if we compile, we see nothing. So at 0, 0, okay, you should not draw it at 0, 0, right? That is one mistake that we're doing. Let's draw it somewhere. Right, maybe something like that. Um, let's see. Mm, It is scroll bar width, right? We set it to something like that, 16. Let's put it here. So why are we not seeing the scroll bar? Mm. What is the height that we're getting actually? Right. We have an error here. Okay, this scroll bar width is used here. Can't put this here. कोई नहीं है. हाँ थोड़ी देर पहले तक. अब दोनों आए 0 हो गया. हम्म. ये मेरा वॉइस का साउंड है. Okay, I think there are a lot of people. I will be closing this stream for now. I will do that later, and maybe I will. With the progress we thought that we would make, we didn't got, but that's fine. Okay.